Hi, it's Alyssa TV, and I'm here with Dani, who also has her own YouTube channel here on YouTube. And together we are filming our podcast. And today we're going to be talking about our astrological birth charts as anime characters. Dani, are you excited? As I am. Are you as excited as me though?
I mean, I can't really say excited because honestly, it was a struggle for me to even find characters that I could remotely think sort of fit.
Yeah.
Because I don't really see myself in anime characters that strongly.
I had a feeling that would be the case for you because my big three are like I feel like if you have no idea what astrology is, my big three are three you name. So like I still struggle, right? And like Coco, I love you, but I don't know if I think Pisces comes like fifth or sixth in people's heads. Because people go with the first one, Aries. And I think people go with the one they think is crazy, Gemini. And then they go with something they think is emotional, which is Virgos, which we are, but like it just depends on where it is in your chart. So I just feel like my big three are the obvious ones, and somehow I managed to still like struggle finding anime characters that fit both like not only the astrological like sign, but like we had to take into play into consideration like an Aries sun. Like I'm an Aries sun. And unfortunately, with these characters, we don't know what time they're born. Some of them we do, but not many of them we do. So we really just have to go with like what day they were born and what zodiac sign they would be under, and then just go with like how their anime character has been written, right? At least that's what I did. Dani, is that what you did?
For me, see, I don't know. I sort of tried to think about what traits I guess I feel like presented in whatever place they were, and then what character sort of embodies it.
Right, but you failed, right? Just kidding. But right, that was the goal. At least I guess is what I'm saying. So we're gonna see. For all the astrology lovers out there, please comment below if you feel like we're just totally off. Please do. That would be hilarious. I'd love to laugh with us together. I love to react to some of the comments together. Or if you feel like these characters maybe like really hit close to you, like if you're also an Aries sun and you think this character will embody you as well, let me know what you think down below. All right, let's hop into it. I can go first since I've already listed my big three. I'll start with my Aries sun. Let me share my screen. Oh God, I'm gonna have to edit that out. I don't even know why that's on my camera. Let me see if myself trying to edit right there. Okay, so my Aries, is that my Aries? Yes, this is my Aries sun. Can you believe? What do you think first before I explain?
I can't say I was expecting that necessarily. Like I can see it, but I wasn't expecting it.
Okay, so let me explain. Nada. Go way down. Okay, sorry. This will give me plenty of time to edit. Hold on. Can you hear her?
Yeah.
What do you want? You gotta go pee or something? Come on, let's go. That is so awkward. All right. Okay. Anyway, back to my explanation of why I've become so. Apparently, it's an Aries, and the reason I picked him is because I think he's a better like he fits my personality, but it also fits kind of how it manifested. Because to me, astrology is a mirror, right? But I also feel like we can blur our own mirrors, right? We don't have to live to what we really are. And so there's this, to me, there's this constant struggle for people in general to live up to what our mirror image is, which is our truest self. But there's like life, right? Like life happens. And while Tamaki grew up in an actual situation where he was spoiled, I might have not grown up in a situation where I was spoiled at all. I lived a pretty like poor life actually, but it was more of this spoiling of like knowledge and spoiling of like I think when, especially when you think about like when he has these relationships with these other characters, especially when you see him. Sorry, I don't know. Okay, here it is with I can't remember her name, Harney. When you see him with her, as one, his naivety. I will not lie. I think I don't know if it's the Aries sun in me, but I feel like it is. I'm not one to push my own expectations of like anything on anybody. Like because like I think so much of myself. I don't think that much. And it's not an ego thing. It's just more of a high awareness of self thing. I think that Aries know who they are. They're natural born leaders. They are naturally passionate about everything. So they don't lack, I feel like other people always notice everybody else, whereas Aries notice everybody else and themselves. And I think that it shows a lot when he goes out and like helps other people that he's just met. Like you've never seen these people before. And he's like, yeah, I'll go help you find your daughter that goes to someone named school than me. I'll help keep your secret identity. And and you also realize that he's not just doing it for he like when he does good things, it can when you go down deeper, it almost seems kind of selfish because like he does those things because it makes him feel good. He does those things because he likes the way he feels when those tasks are completed. He feels like he's his own main character of his own main story. And I just like that it's very Aries. But he also has this high sense of empathy because of where he grew up from, as you see towards the end of the story, where his like you think because he was spoiled in these ways, and like some people thought because of just like how naturally smart I was or how naturally born leader I am, that means that I don't, have insecurities. And he obviously had insecurities when it came to his family, and I obviously judged him for that. And I think that was all he was doing with everybody else. It's like, yes, I'm helping you fix your stuff because I care about you, but I also just want to make sure that happening in your family. So it's still like this. To me, the sun is something that gives out light, but it's also hot, right? I don't know how much it applies in the actual literal understanding of astrology, but to me, when I understand, like, if to my knowledge, the sun is how, please correct me if I'm wrong, the sun is how I project myself to people. And I think Aries sun projects themselves as leaders, especially when it comes to things they care about. But the other parts of our charts depend if that's this very pure feeling or whether it's an actual selfish feeling to like cover up insecurities. And I feel like I don't know the rest of the chart, but that's to me who he is. And so with the Aries there, I feel like, okay, yeah, I could definitely put him. That's my Aries sun. So yeah. That makes sense.
Yeah, it did.
Okay. Especially because like me, I feel like probably other people out there like I'll be like, well, and it's like the whole thing about this is like it's like we need a perfect get to know each other like thing. Because like Tamaki isn't like sometimes he's too naive and sometimes he's like too caught up in his own morals to forget that like not everybody lives his life the way their life the way he lives his life, and I can be that way sometimes, absolutely. Where it's like, it's not that I'm being an airhead, and it's not that I'm necessarily needing to look spoiled. It's just that for me, you know, when the way that I came through my life, it has always been about take the initiative, be the leader, go first, because you have the ability to. And I think Thomas Keith always realized his position as someone who had money. He just like, because you notice, like, even when as he got hard, like, one, he loved this girl who was a commoner, and other people might have been like, ooh, commoner, you know, but he was like, ooh, commoner. And I'm like, okay, I can see another part of me that's like that, because I am also that type of way with people. I don't know that much about their lives, you know, like, I'm also a commoner, so not that way per se, but I am like, ooh, you have a really different life than me. Please stay around, in particularly because I want to know what that's like. I want to follow you around in your life, so I can know what it's like in your shoes, so that I can truly help you out when you need me to help you out. And I think that's taking initiative, right? That's taking initiative in the friendship. And I think it's like so easy to get caught up in his like dreams and I feel like you can attest to that with this podcast, getting caught up in their like visions and hopes and dreams, even if that's not necessarily the people like that wasn't even on our radar, you know. So I definitely think Thomas is a really good representation of like the Aries in me. Your turn. Am I gonna be surprised, do you think? Am I gonna know these characters?
You're going to know one.
What okay.
Okay, I cannot share my screen, but
Oh, did I not make you host when
my
you re-entered the chat? Hold on. Editing. Is it gonna be another big edit? All right, try now.
okay.
Yep, there you go. All right, make sure there's something on there you don't want to show.
Okay. So
Oh, this is also
okay,
there.
Yuki.
Okay, yes, absolutely. I can see this.
Yeah,
As your Pisces?
yes, sun. Well, I kind of see him in the sun and moon, but I tried to still pick another character for moon. So
Right. And I forgot that you have two common ones, so must have definitely not it. So go ahead.
yeah, so basically, I mean, he's seen as like really nice and reserved and all those things, and like I guess like fragile, and people see him as like
Innocent.
pretty innocent and stuff, but like I guess it's like but it's on the his true self, who he is at his core. It's not like those parts of him aren't part of who he is really,
Right.
even though he sort of feels like he's just put on the show, which sometimes like that's kind of how I would feel. I would just be like really annoyed that I just can't act how I want to act because of how people would be like, oh, you're too emotional, or you're too this and that, you complain too much and all those things.
Right.
But he's also like, really sensitive and really self-cautious, and he's actually like really expressive. It's just that he, you know, that would be like the moon sort of, I guess. But the sun, of course, like, he's somewhat, I guess presents himself, but not completely. But once he gets to know the other characters, he's more expressive, more sarcastic, a lot more playful. But yeah, I guess that's I don't know how else to explain it.
Yeah. No, I get it. If I were to go a little deeper, you can stop sharing if you want. I would say that high school you reminds me more. Hold on, I'm gonna edit that. I'm gonna say that high school you reminds me more of this version of Pisces. I think you're growing into like the other half of like what I know about Pisces. And when they're confident, I feel like a young you. Like if I'm looking at the life of EP, a year or so month. Not a year or so. Yeah, that's right. That's his name. No, it's just whatever. Life of this man through fruit baskets. All I can see is trauma that no one else perceived based off of immediate look, right? Immediate perception. And if we're going with sun, again, it's how you projected yourself compared to how you saw yourself. Then I would definitely say that was how you, like, as a person who came into your life in high school, not even like some of the friends you had before then, but like as a person who really saw you as a high schooler, like this guy, I could say absolutely, like you came off as this beautiful, stunning, like to me, if you were a little bit more like the popular girls, you would be the most hated girl in that school, in my opinion. That's how pretty you were to me. Like, and you only got more beautiful, but I think that when I talked to you, you were just so quiet. Like I wasn't sure if it was. I know for a fact that sometimes I would, in particular, make sure that and I think that's the Aries sun in me. That's the going back to Tamaki. I made sure that I talked to you. I do that with everybody. If I am invited to a friend group, I don't want people to think that I'm just there talking to one person in the friend group. I want the whole people to have a chance of getting to know me and potentially be friends with me. And so I know at times I absolutely was like, wait, she looked like she was about to interject and say something. I don't want these bigger personalities jumping over her. But as I got to know you, I was like, oh, speak up. I know you got something to say. I don't think you're not saying this because you don't have something to say. I think you're not saying this because you're afraid that people react in a way that makes them think of you differently. And I just wanted to blow that out the water the moment I met you, obviously, because like to me, what you had to say was always so intriguing. You ended up being such a different person in the place I expected you to be. And to me, that's just what he did, right? Like he projected himself, even if he maybe, to me, he had maybe a bit more of a leadership part of himself. So maybe parts of his chart that he's pretty different than yours there, because I think you take charge of your own life, but you don't have to take charge of others' lives. You don't, I don't know if you feel necessarily, but I do feel like you do have in common with him was the feeling of weight and responsibility that was never supposed to be yours in the first place. And I think that is very like Pisces sun. So projecting yourself as this person who has to carry burdens for people, because you feel like that's your purpose in life is to carry that burden. But it's not. And as you grow up and you get bigger, you realize that that same empathy for people, that same passion to want to change those situations is still there. But you're not Jesus Christ getting onto the cross. You're just a part of a solution, and to take responsibility for what is your part compared to taking on everybody else's. And they're not telling people that it's a big burden to you. You know, I think that's where the reserve part comes in too. So. I like this pick. If this is the one that I would only know, then I'm excited to hear other two. Okay. Let me do something really quickly. Okay. Now I'm sharing this picture. I'm gonna remove you as host because I can't get two people to do it. I think you have to do it. I think I replaced you and not added you. You didn't make me this again. Yeah, do it. No participate. There we go. And then I'm back here. All right. My number 2 is I'm gonna go with my Gemini, and it's Mary Southway. I don't think you're gonna be surprised about that one at all. I think I've told you this multiple times. Haven't I?
Yeah.
Yes, she is a Gemini, and she's a Gemini rising somewhere up in there. If not, the girl is just really written so close to me in mindset. The way, okay, so I'm gonna re-Google. Tell me what Gemini rising is again before I say this, because I want to make sure I say it right. Dani. I thought you knew. Sorry. Let me Google it again. Okay, a rising sign. Moving over here. A rising sign is your social personality. It is how you dawn on people as it relates. This is how people actually recognize you, like your first impression of people. And the reason I'm, and the way that people perceive you, is the reason I'm, did make yourself maybe it's because isn't she one literally a twin? And two, it's just her mindset. Like if I think about the fact that like if the way I project myself is not always equal to my mindset, to me this is the dichotomy. Like if my Aries sun is I'm a person who takes on leadership positions so that I can help change things that I'm passionate about. My Gemini is really about myself. I don't really care. I want to crush the structure that decided it wanted to crush me. We literally have the same goal in our lives. She wants to crush, sorry if it's a spoiler, but she wants to crush the system that made her into a house pet because it had the audacity to be a house pet. She wasn't mad at people who acted and treated like her because they're beneath her. They couldn't beat her. They are not the reason she is a house pet. The only person that makes her a house pet is the person she ends up teaming up with to be in friends with, which is also very much like a me Gemini to me. How are you gonna be best friends with the person who made you feel the lowest? But it's because she recognized and she focused that it's not those people that were hurting me, it was the structure. And to personally take on trying to take down the structure, while also no one expected me to do so. Like, I think the only person who thinks that she can is the president's sister. That's why she wants to give her those tokens. My dog is going to kill me. I'm gonna move to something else. There's this episode where it's the bug. That's my favorite thing in the world. Okay, but yeah, when she teams up with the president's sister, I'm Nana. I had to edit one of them. Okay. When she teams up with the president's sister, she's at the first time where she is being recognized as the most powerful player in this game, in my opinion. And that to me is just very much like a Gemini. It's like, for some reason, people perceive us as an actual threat. That's why the big gun went to her after when she fixed herself from being a house pet. The big gun came and was like, you're good, you're talented. I want you to join the council so you can be basically under my control. So I ain't gotta worry about you coming in and doing anything. She says no, which actually intrigues the president. And honestly, I would have absolutely too. I'm not going to sign on to be a worker for anything that originally was my oppressor. And then the other side of her is then this person who actually does care about the fact that it's hurting her friends too. I think that as she teams up with Yumiko and of course she starts like blushing for like what's the point character who's apparently the main character. Like when they become a friend group, she realizes like there's more to this than just defeating the structure because it hurt me. It's also just not a good structure for anyone to be under. So I feel like that part of my personality is how people actually perceive me is somehow a threat while also not being perceived as a threat at all. Because like here she is in this presidential race. Isn't she like an 8 or something? But I think because of people like, and I feel this way all the time, like the only other person I was going to put before I found her, I was like, I don't think I have a Gemini character that I like. But a character who's actually in the anime that's going to be referenced in my last one, actually reminds me a bit of her, but in a different way, which is why I ended up going with her, because maybe he's more like Gemini moon than he is a Gemini rising. Because they both live as shadows somehow. Like they are absolutely complete threats. And like they're proving it. And people see it. And people react to it. And yet somehow they're under fucking estimated. And I think that is a Gemini rising thing. It's like I think if I was a Gemini sun and I projected myself as a Gemini, people would call me the crazy Gemini. But the fact that I'm a Gemini rising, where it's more of people can sometimes see the inconsistency in me. Like they think they peeved me one way. They're like, oh yeah, she's really athletic, she's super smart. But then somehow they treat me or as if they it's I don't know what's happening to people as they perceive people like Mary Saltemaze, but I get her. I see her potential. And I see like this duality in her of here's this person who is absolutely the top of her game. But even when she wasn't on the council. Like you only then saw her because she was able to overcome being a house pet, but she wasn't any smarter when she happened to do that. You know, she wasn't any more of Mary Softly then than she was before. So now, why are you coming to me now? And because that Gemini her is a little bit stubborn, she's like, you ain't gonna get me now. Maybe a few months ago you could have signed me, but not today. So I feel like that is why I had to choose it for Gemini rising, because to me, in how she is actually perceived by people, is how I feel like I'm often perceived by people. So. Your turn. Oh, I have to make you host again, so we gotta remember to do this next time.
Next is Akira from School Rumble. It's funny because apparently she's actually in Aquarius, but I am a Saturn Aquarius moon. But anyways, so yeah, she was the one I could best sort of pinpoint as Scorpio kind of energy, like kind of like presenting herself as like very serious and like emotionless almost, even though like clearly that's not really who I am. It's just kind of just how I present myself. And then like she hides a lot of like her talents or abilities and stuff. And for me, it's because I just simply don't like people reacting. Like basically, I don't like to be perceived. I don't like people reacting to me. I don't like people being surprised that I know I can do that. They know I can do something. So I just don't even put it out there.
Okay.
Like I think I've gotten more into the Scorpio energy the older I get, because when I was younger, I used to like actually, showcase myself and be more open and stuff. But the older I get, the more, I guess, hermit-y or more recluse, reserved I am.
Yeah,
Like the more I don't care to like try to share parts of myself.
no, I get that. That comes with my moon sign. So, and this is a Scorpio is a fire sign, right?
But
Water.
yeah,
Water.
but Scorpios are known for being mysterious or whatever, or at least trying to be mysterious. And she's like really the mysterious character in the show. That is like, I can't really sound perceptive necessarily, but I can, if I have a good understanding of someone, I can understand like why they did something or their intentions or something. But and I guess just figuring out things that probably no one else would like think to like figure out.
Yeah, I get that.
But yeah.
Okay, well, you obviously know I don't know much about her. So it's hard for me to like say if you're right.
Yeah,
But yeah, go ahead.
I feel like she's sort of stereotypically kind of fits into Scorpio energy, because she's also like literally no one knows she's like a private, like I think she's like a spy or something in the show. Like literally no one knows. And Scorpios, they're like, oh, they could literally find out anything. They could be private investigators and stuff. And I don't know, even though I can't say that great. I mean, I can find out information.
Well, I have
if I really
on
want
my
to.
chart somewhere, so I feel that.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh,
That's all I
okay,
got.
sorry. I thought you were still continuing with a thought, but okay. All right, well, let's just go ahead and jump straight into our third, because I don't want to spend on too long. So you gotta make me host some of that.
Hmm.
So last is Virgo, and oh my God, look. Let me let me. I don't disclaimer that this person is in high school, so no matter how fine this man is drawn, which I hate animators for doing that. They draw teenage girls unless they are fan service, like bunnies, like petite little cute kawaii bunnies. But even when they're doing fan service for male characters, they build them like 20-year-old men. It's not fair for actual 20-year-olds who also deal with like association and like it's just not a good, that's not a good thing. Just don't stop doing that. I don't need Nike. You're probably not gonna know him. This is actually becoming a very popular anime at the time of speaking of it, but this is the first time I can say this about an anime show. I heard it first. I watched it like 2 years ago, 3 years ago actually, maybe now, because I was in Columbus, but I was at another place I was living other than now. This guy is a Virgo. And when I Googled Virgo anime, then the first time nobody came up, and I was so I had to specifically Google like anime like shows I knew. And I was like, okay, well, I'm rewatching Kuroko the Basket because it's getting popular again. I was like, and I enjoy it. So I rewatched it, and this man is me. Is me in ways that I hate to admit. And I would say that is just how I see my Virgo sign. Like my moon sign is the weakest sign that I think that I stay to because like he is my most emotional sign. And I'm not good with emotions. Like the Aries, I feel like maybe that might be, as I've been learning more about Virgo, that may not be true. I may be more like that because I'm a Virgo moon. But when emotions hit, me no want to admit. And to me, that's what this guy does throughout his whole entire half of his story arc is no one can beat me but me. Half of his story arc is truly believing that there will never be a person as amazing at basketball as he is, to the point that it depresses him and makes him hate the game that he loves. And kind of me, right? Because that is how I ended up like. So your moon sign represents, I'm gonna Google it just to make sure I'm talking right about it. It's the soul of your identity, the subconscious part of yourself that you might keep hidden from others. Okay, so this is why I keep it hidden from others. Because never more have I agreed with this statement that I didn't want to agree to then. No one can beat me more than me. That there's never going to be a person out there that's going to satisfy my actual like expectations of what human society should be like. It's never going to happen, and it's frustrating. But throughout the show, at some point he actually finally loses to a guy who I wouldn't say was any better than him. I think he just had to learn from a different perspective. He had to learn from the perspective of like basketball is not one man sport, and no matter how good one person is at it, if strategy and other things can be compared, and at least one person's similarly strong, anyone can win. And that's just like the whole message of the whole entire show. But he has to be proved right before he can actually believe it, and I think that is the Virgo thing. It's like I'm gonna also Google Virgos really quickly. I'm gonna Google Virgo moons really, really quickly, just because I want to get the right language for it. Virgo moons are sensitive and sympathetic souls. If your moon is in Virgo, you're likely curious about the world around you, service-oriented, organized, analytical, and refined. Below, you'll find so yeah, I would say that definitely describes him in certain aspects. But I think what that does, the impact, the manifestations of that is that being reserved in your emotions makes you very like introspective. And I think because he recognized how limitless his power was, he felt that if he kept growing, he'd outpace everybody else so much that he would definitely not get anything that he wanted. And I can understand that he stagnated himself. He literally, when he starts to lose, being like, when did I start not going to practice? When did I stop getting excited before a game? And it's like that's how I'm starting to build up my life right now, where it's like there's so much more life left than what you currently experience. But I think Virgo moons are so inward and so in their head and don't express it ever that it's circulated and evolved. And eventually that evolved the feeling of I don't want to leave everyone behind me because I enjoy playing with my friends evolves as it starts to stay in your head to no one can beat me but me, which is not true, but that's what it evolved to. If my friends who are really the generations of miracles, Kuriko, who I was talking about, who I believe is a Pisces, who's similar to you, has that motivation of like, he's actually like really sucky at basketball except for one part of basketball, which is passing. And he truly believes you work hard and that nothing's over until that scoreboard hits 0, 0, 0, 0. So he's constantly being met with this match of like, this is how you see yourself, but he has to literally be beaten to be proven. And I think that's what happens with Virgos is that like you have to like beat into this this feeling of like you're not doing this alone, remember? Like you are not, and it's a little egotistical, which is why I'm like the way I am, because like Aries, Gemini, and Virgo, all of these together, like I feel like we should try to like describe all three of our at the end, like all three of ours in like one sentence, and that's like us, right? But I would say he's just a cherry on top of like this person who wants to take leadership. He did. He took leadership. He went and played basketball on a basketball court, and he loved it. And he works tirelessly to become the greatest at it. Literally a generational miracles player. And then he is this. There's a side of him that he shows, and there's a side of him that he doesn't show. And one is suppressed more than the other. And I think that's because of his Virgoness, where he wants to only focus on the things that are conscious, his conscious thoughts, his conscious thoughts of saying, I win all the time. I'm going to be a winner. I just want someone to even let these games be close to me because he's beating them just that badly. And I know it's egotistical for me to say, but like, I don't lose a lot. I'm being honest. This is like this is about the real me part. Like I've gotten rejected more for things in the last like year of like trying to go and like get work than I ever have in my entire life. I know I'm just 23, but like I've really been able to go into things I was underqualified for it because of multiple reasons. I was a really hard worker and I put myself in positions where people knew that taking a risk on me was a good risk. But somehow work has not landed in the best of places for me right now, personally. And it's okay, that's just how life is. But I could absolutely see how that, if you didn't resolve it emotionally, if I didn't know that's how it was as a Virgo, I could see it absolutely evolving into this world. It's me against this world forever. But you have to just deal with that subconscious part of you, which is like maybe we'll talk about another podcast, which is my design community and being this dark goddess, which requires consistent introspective. Because if you're going to live in your subconscious, you can't just be there and not do anything because you will get overwhelmed by it. You have to like, and that's what the great thing about probably parts of his charts and parts of my charts. My Aries and me, when I am faced with my subconscious, isn't gonna fucking run away, or stand still. Doesn't mean it's not impacting me and making me scared either. It's just being super emotionally intelligent and introspective. And I think he gets this way eventually. And he always is. I think he always is that way. It's just to have acknowledged that he is that way. He has to have to like acknowledge that he was stupid. Because you are a teenager playing basketball in Japan. And they literally have a WNBA player come in and be like, most Japanese games aren't fun. And it's not against their type of play. It's just that that basketball is literally meant for the extremely tall and extremely athletic. It's not that there aren't those type of people in Japan. It's just not very consistent because it's just not a popular game there. So yes, of course, if you are extremely gifted in that, it's gonna take you some time to meet someone who's as good as you. You probably would have went to college and gone through the same thing I'm going through right now, which is there are people who are just as good as you and probably better, like all the time, everywhere. And so it's just like he'll see that eventually, and he took it well the first time, so hopefully he'll take it well more as if his character is real. But that's why I picked him as my moon sign. Right. All right, let me make you host, and it's our last one.
Okay, so for my Pisces moon, I picked Yakumo from another School Rumble character.
She's pretty close to my actual birthday.
And it's but as you see, so she carries a strong presence, which I think for the most part, I guess my Pisces moon, well, me being a Pisces moon, my emotions, or at least like what people perceive my emotions are, come off as pretty strong.
Mm-hmm.
And even without necessarily trying to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really picked her because of her psychic abilities.
Right, because subconscious part of it.
Yeah, but like a weird thing that she can do is like read the thoughts of people that have strong feelings for her, and like.
Okay, yeah, I can see that in you.
And like I obviously I can't read thoughts, but it's like I can feel what, and it doesn't necessarily have to be like a strong feeling. Like I can tell when someone's either just interested or just likes me sometimes. Well, I can't even say sometimes. Because sometimes I catch on to it. It doesn't have to be someone I know. It could literally be a random person. Because one time it's weird. I feel like I keep jumping to one sentence to another. But it's weird because sometimes I feel like I'm just being vain or something, or just thinking if someone has a crush on me just because. But it's just like I'm usually not wrong. Because I literally felt the energy from like a random person that I've like literally never seen before. And like later that day, like someone came up to me like trying to like talk for him and like asking like, oh, did I go to this place because he thought like he had seen me there or something. I was just like, okay.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I can see that again. Unfortunately, I do not know this character, so I can't put too much on it. But I think it's why we are able to stay friends so long. If we went back on this sign in particular. So again, if the moon is supposed to be like subconscious parts, right? Then I would say this is definitely good. Sometimes I have to remember you are an Aries moon because sometimes I'm taken aback by how much like especially like I don't know if I'm allowed to say this. I'm gonna have to edit it out. Let me know later. But you just drop things on me sometimes, like getting married. That's a big fucking decision. But that's what you want to make by yourself, right? Like that's something you made your decision and like that's you taking care of your subconscious mind first. You're not necessarily someone to project that like a sun sign or to just live in that and be projected that way like a moon, like a rising sign. You want to live in that in your actual like personal time. And so sometimes I gotta, because I'm, hours away. And the only way we communicate is over the phone or Zoom or whatever. It's sometimes I gotta be taken back, like, oh yeah, she don't make life decisions. Like without me, which is okay, which is good. But sometimes I gotta be taken aback by how much you just make those decisions. Like it's not stubbornness, it's just passion, and it's just like assuredness. Like once you've made a decision, you're not allowed to like run away from it either, right? It's just typically those decisions are like really like for me, that's just every day, every fucking thing I do. For you, those decisions are like those deeper things, I feel like, especially when it comes to like people you care about. But yeah, I think that if this figure is describing that, I think she was a good pick because psychic abilities to me are what you and I we're drawn to. I think we could see. I think we read each other well. I still think we read each other really well. And I think that comes from like that. I don't like calling it an empath because empath becoming a really popular word nowadays. But I think once you start to care about a person, especially with where I started, I think that you end up being able to basically understand them. I think you subconsciously take initiative to understand them extremely well. And so it feels maybe like you're reading their mind, but it's actually just the fact that you have absolutely like learned about this person, listen to these people. Like you're a listener too. So it's like you sit here and listen to me talk for hours. So I'm sure, and you can infer from that. You're smart, you're intelligent. So it doesn't take you knowing everything about a person to know the core things about a person. And so I think that you just subconsciously do that. You subconsciously take initiative in that passion towards the people that you care about. So I definitely see that. And sometimes I have to be reminded of that because I'm like, you can't easily influence yourself to do anything. Remind yourself that she's allowed to have boundaries and just like everybody fucking else, but also remind yourself that the way that she like holds those boundaries is just who she is. And I think because I'm also married and I'm also very passionate, sometimes we don't clash necessarily because I think it's because of where we sit in our charts. I don't think we work if we were both Aries sons. But I think we'd be too alike at that point. But I think because you decide things subconsciously and I decide things right there at the moment, verbally, it helps our relationship out a lot because you'll go back and be like, actually, now that I've thought about it. And sometimes I don't like that because I am hey, answer me right now. What's the answer? Let's do this. Let's talk about the solution so that I can help you get to that solution. But you're more of like, you're taking initiative. You're just not doing it in front of me. So it's like, you gotta get over my own ego. I'm sorry, it's a Gemini, but I definitely see that. And I'm glad to have done this now because I feel like it'll help me personally because you know me and my memory to be like, she's like that character she showed me. that's just that part coming out, right? So yeah. All right.
Okay. Wait, did you say Pisces moon or Aries moon? Because I thought yeah, I'm a Pisces moon, but I do have a lot of Aries.
That's why I was getting confused. I was like, why are you bringing up an Aries character? Okay, well that completely changes my whole scope on this. But
I mean, I am an Aries, Mercury, and Venus, and yeah.
Okay, so there's still predominant Mercury, Aries things in you. It's just not relating to your moon sign necessarily.
Yeah.
Oh, Pisces moon.
Yeah, I can display further. Like Pisces moon, at least for me, like we can. I mean, Pisces moons can be empaths, but I'm personally not. It's more of like I absorb and I mirror people. That's not necessarily the same thing.
You know, I get you.
And it's like it's to the point where like I take in other people's like opinions and stuff so strongly that like it's like I be living in two different realities.
Yes, I get that.
It's like what I know, and then it's like what people perceive or what they feel like reality is versus like what I know, which other people think is a fantasy, but I know it's not. It's just I can't prove to them that what I know is,
real.
Not necessarily factual, but I guess true.
True. No, well, you're talking to the choir here. As a person with like illnesses that reflect that, I totally get that, and I think it's one of those things that we attract each other energetically, because I think that goes back to my Virgo moon. My Virgo moon's not very like, or maybe it's another part of my astrology chart. The part of my astrology chart that is very much like she enjoys taboo. She very much doesn't have to be judgmental towards things because before she's judgmental, she's interested and intrigued. And I think that always drew me to you because like my judging wasn't on that my radar when I first met you. I don't even know what my radar was. Like our pathway to one another was very, very weird. But when it comes to reflecting people, I could definitely see that once we like relationship wise, once we got into relationships. And that's why we probably weren't the best. because parts of my chart needs are constantly asking for validation, and I'm a spoiled brat, and if you reflect my spoiledness, you'll only be making further a spoiled brat, right? Like, I need someone to come and counterpart that and be like, you are spoiled. I am going to spoil you, but sometimes you got to be able to tell yourself no. And I think you've grown into your Scorpio part, going back there, and that you now you care a little bit less about pleasing people. But that Pisces part comes back, I think, and wants to make sure that those people realize that you care. You know, I think you mirror people because of constant people care. And recognize that you remember those things. So
Yeah, that mirroring people, I've realized, I think also tends to like go into like us Pisces moon being people's karma, and I really hate that. Like, I really hate when I recognize moments like that, because I'm just like, the last thing I want to be is someone's karma.
Is that
But it just
so?
happens.
That's so hilarious because I just been like going through this like mental part of me that was like, I hate being in Aries because people only see it as the first thing, but it's also the last, right? Like, like if you recognize that this chart is holistic, it's not truly part in ways. It's just how help us understand. Like when you are the first, you are also the last of something when it's a circle, you know. And I think that people people use me because of my natural initiative taking and my empathy and the way things I've come through. People can take my kindness as a weakness, and that's why sometimes I have to come back and remind me like I'm also a Gemini. Like don't forget there's a part of me that doesn't give a fuck about you because they sometimes people, and I definitely noticed this as a high schooler, come into my life so that they can get the benefit of my Aries energy of this like true pursuer, true passion, and if they are not that, it sucks the life out of me. It sucks all that Ariesness out of me. And so I have to use a Gemini, like, and like, and just kind of cleanse my like personal area because it is such a I do very much project myself very hard in Aries. Aries was the first sign that I'm very lucky to say that like as I learned from a Gemini rising, I recognized how much more I do relate to it. But I did not want to deny myself to being an Aries. I loved it. I love the thought of being the first sign. I was a Ram as a kid. I went to Ramsey. I was a Ramsey Rams. I loved the symbolism and I loved the metaphors I could get from it. And I could always love it when I got to my darker places. I'd be like, oh, you're an Aries. Get back on your horse and go. But people will absolutely use you to be like their jumping start point. But when you use someone as your start, you're making them your last, like you are their last. Like that means like if you're trying to make me the first person, like if it's the first time you've ever experienced emotional, like I'll use relationship, like if a man has never really been emotional, my Aries energy, my Gemini energy, my Virgo energy will absolutely force that emotion on you, even if you don't care for it. And I have consistently been at even like non-relationship wise, like career wise, it hasn't happened to me. Like something legitimately happened to me in college, but like I started something, it started going better, I made it better, I did it well, and I took charge of that, and I took initiative of that. But like my Gemini me, like I was talking about with Mary, is that I don't gotta brag about it. I just like being it, you know, So it's like people are seeing me succeed, but somehow also still like underestimating me by doing that. They're making me both the first thing that they're using to jump off, but also the last thing that they have to think about when it comes to being that thing that they use me to jump off of, right? So suddenly, yes, they're amazing at the next relationship, but you still use me because you knew I could take it, obviously, because I'm an Aries or whatever. That energy plus other like external factors like blackness and being a black woman, it to me just always brings, and that's the part, like I've definitely read that in my chart. I bring around people who want to be around that greatness, just being honest. And I let it take me. Like I'm not saying that I'm the greatest person now because unfortunately I did not keep myself away from that, and my external factors did not help out from that as well. But like if I keep pushing at it, I know I can be because of my understanding of it now. And to me, that's just that to me encompasses like I talked about it. It encompasses like the trauma of Tamaki. It encompasses like the personal perception, but also how people view of Mary, but also like the subconscious, like darker parts of me that's like, I really don't give a fuck about being an enemy anymore. I really don't. You use me all these times, like my whole entire life, you get pedestal to jump yourself off of. Well, actually, able to judge my own fucking self. And now I'm more in that. I feel like somehow this all has gone full circle, my big three at least, and I've gone and become even more of my Aries energy than I've ever had in my life. So, yeah, I totally get where you're coming from when it comes to like Pisces energy of marrying people to a fault and marrying people. I feel like it becomes like, especially when you've done it all your life, it becomes an expectation of who you are. And when you realize that it may not be a healthy amount or a healthy dosage of that, and you try to restrain yourself, or you try to like use it in particular just to benefit yourself, not necessarily as the thought of other people's lives. Of course, people are gonna just like say, "Oh, you changed," but like, no, really, I'm just being more of myself than ever happened. Yeah.
Mm.
I think that's all I had to input. You got anything you want to say?
Um, I guess I was sort of thinking about more Scorpio energy stuff now since you were talking more of like how you like grow
Mm-hmm.
more into your Aries energy and I've grown more into my Scorpio energy
Right.
over years. It's like the more I think about it, I think when I was younger, like it's like I don't know what change exactly happened, but it's like I didn't really have to try to because it's like people are like inclined, well, at least in high school and school, people were inclined to tell me things. Like I didn't have to go searching for information. Like if someone did something behind my back, like it always got back to me.
Yeah. I recognize that.
And I wasn't necessarily like fully distrusting of people, but I didn't necessarily like trust them. Like I was never surprised by anything, But
Yeah.
like I'm literally more well, I'm a little bit less than that now, but like about college, I got to a point where I was very distrustful, like,
Mm-hmm.
like very anxious,
Right.
and like still sort of dealing with the effects of that now.
Right.
But it's more of like, and then like now since I talk to a lot less people, it's like okay, now I'm like get into like kind of like the shadow traits of like being like paranoid and going search out for information and stuff like that.
Right.
'Cause
Right. Because you're so used to it coming to you, and there's always been that, right? Because, like I said, our
yeah,
external factors did not support the positive parts because there's such a thing as good or bad. Everything has good or bad things in it. And our external factors are what pushes us more into internalizing, not doing, internalizing the good parts of something over the bad parts of the bad over the good. And I just think that in general, both of our lives, there was no one in our lives intelligent. I'm being honest, not calling any of our families stupid or anything, but I think it just takes a more in-depth understanding of everything a part of life for our particular situations where we had anxiety disorders, we had depression, we had, you know, toxic exes by high school. It's like these were situations that we didn't need to even be in, and and having them didn't have to be a horrible thing. But there was no external factor to come back and be like, that's not you. Until, honestly, in my opinion, until I found you, until we became friends, where it's like, uh, that's like being like, that's weird, or are you too under that? Or I did like when you would finally, I won't say would finally, but I feel like get the courage sometimes to like call me out and stuff. And like, I think when you grew a little bit more into your Scorpio energy, it was it wasn't shocking to me because I think I can take it. But I think because before that I couldn't because like I would say I was very much an Aries and how I felt about myself, but I didn't necessarily project it as much. Like my projection, if it was like on a scale of 0 to 100, was at like a 20 back then. I was just like a 60 now. Um, but I think you started growing into it. You started growing into your Aries energy as I was finding. I mean, you started growing into your Scorpio energy as I was finding the other parts, literally and astrologically, right? So I think you got this heads up on me on that part of you that was becoming more bold and less fearful, because I think your external factors started to calm down and you could call out your own stuff subconsciously. You could sit and be like, that's not what I want to be doing right now. So yeah. Well, it was a great talk, Dani. Thank you for sitting down and doing this with me. If you like what you're watching on the other side, please give this a like, subscribe on YouTube. If you're on Spotify or any other audio streaming platforms, be sure to follow us. We're uploading pretty much weekly for as long as we feel like doing this. So please follow along so you can enjoy us laughing at ourselves, probably saying extremely long opinions and sharing them anyway, just like pretty much every podcast is so fun. But hopefully we give you some entertainment on the way. Dani's anything you want to say?
No, not really.
All right. Well, until next time. See you then. Next episode. All right. I'm going to stop recording, please.